Go. Hello out there, guys. Hope you're doing wonderfully well. So I'm back today with a different kind of variation of the content that I normally put out. In the last review video that I did, well, it actually wasn't a review video, it was a review on me. I decided in that video that it would be a really good idea to actually get first-hand testimonials from people that have been caught up in the New Age, false awakening, pseudo-spiritual movement. Because personally, I've worked with many, but you know, that can be classed as sort of hearsay. So I thought, I do get so many emails, I thought it would be a great idea to get some of you guys on, some of you guys that feel like you want to speak out. Not everyone wants to speak out about this. And yeah, just put another angle to it, first-hand evidence of people that have been caught up in that. Before we get into today's guest, if you are new around here, please consider subscribing, liking the video, commenting, all that stuff really helps the channel out. And all my links are in below on my BitChute, my website, if you want to work with me, transcendingtimes.org, my Odysee, my Telegram, all in the description below. So without further ado, we have our guest today, William Emmerson, and I have to say, hand it to you for being the first guest and stepping up and really embodying that courage that I believe is missing in the New Age, the idea that we should just accept everything and stay quiet and just think happy thoughts. So you're going to tell us your story, how you got into like New Age stuff and everything. So I'm just going to give you the floor, and then we'll interject later on and see what other points can be raised. So William, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came into the New Age, and yeah, I'll give you the floor.
Thanks for having me on, and I'm a little nervous because it feels important to be doing this, so I think, you know, I'm just going to go for it and try and cover as many points as I can. I guess the way it started was I was working in mental health for 6 years, you know, for the NHS, like support worker, and I just saw this really broken system, and I felt like something was really missing, and it was all about genetics and biology and medicating, and so I was always feeling like something was missing from this sector. And towards the end of that career, I moved to Brighton, which is, you know,
that's the New Age capital of the UK.
Exactly, LGBT capital, New Age capital, gentrification capital, everything possible. And then yeah, just, you know, slipped into the New Age. Like I started doing peyote and San Pedro ceremonies, and I was drawn in by the kind of, it was a bit glamorous. It was like, oh yeah, you can do all this healing and you can heal the world and sit in these ceremonies. And to be honest, at the time when I think about it, it was like, it was abuse. It was abusive doing all that stuff, like all that purging and all that, you know, searching for something that was wrong. And so that was kind of like the start of that. And then I met a spiritual community who were very much into like neo-paganism and all the kind of, you know, meditation and calling in guides and working with, you know, spirits and Kananos and like Pan.
Oh, Pan's a demon.
Yeah. This is like a, you know, just, I don't know. It has some beautiful sides to it, but I do think that there was definitely like a satanic element to it, but I wasn't aware. And let me just think. So I had all these different practices, many different practices, praying to gods, praying to these entities, these deities, anything that was outside of myself. And I think it was just about, searching for an answer, and being also quite vulnerable. I think that's one of the main aspects of how, people get sucked into the new age, is they really want an answer. And maybe, like I was in this system, the mental health system, seeing people basically being abused, and I wanted to heal myself and also to heal others. So it was just very attractive to me, and I also wanted to belong somewhere, because I always felt very different. That had always been my story, was that I didn't fit in, and I've always questioned the status quo, the establishment. So this community and these medicine circles were perfect for that, because the people that were involved in them were questioning and not trusting authority, and so it did really appeal to me. And when I follow your videos, you're always saying 80%, it will be like 80% truth, and then the 20% will be the dangerous parts, where it will just be leading. Yeah, exactly. So I was hooked, basically. I was hooked on different workshops, ceremonies, practices. I had Vishnu, Ganesha, Shiva, like all it was just a lot, basically. So
would you say that you had an addiction, a spiritual addiction? Because I'm finding that this is actually a thing.
Yeah, it was a way to feel important and significant, and the mantras are addictive. Like I was doing like Om Klim Kali Kaya Namaha again and again and again, kind of getting myself into this hypnotic state, which did feel good at the time, and I kind of started to feel quite high, but then would never last for long. Would never last for long, and then I'd always end up running into some drama, or having to then do extra practices. So
it's like the false light, the false high. It's temporary.
Yeah, but I didn't know that. I really didn't know that, and I did like Reiki attunements, and that felt great, and I felt really positive, and I felt like, well, I'm really cracking it. I'm solving everything, and so optimistic and so hopeful. But then just be back at square one, maybe like a few days later, even a few hours later. And this went on for years. I was doing all this stuff. And
how many years were you doing this stuff for?
Well, I moved to Brighton in 2015. So it's been, I'd say, like 6 years, 5-6 years, a good 5-6 years. And then my first, like, this is not right, like this, I didn't know it was called the New Age. I didn't know really that, I didn't know that concept. I just thought it was like, spiritual people, and there was just, that was all that there was. There was either, your 3D people, and I would always be using that term, like, oh, they're 3D, these, I'm 5D, or, so my first experience of just questioning this New Age was when I went to Guatemala. I went to this place called Lake Atitlan, and it's, I don't know if you've heard, but it's just another hub, another New Age hub, which is just, all these privilege seekers from like LA, from the States,
Illuminati.
Europe, every possible cliche, dreads, like jewels, third eye patches, third eye things coming out of here, left, right, and center. And I was thinking, this doesn't feel right. This feels really fake. Like, these people feel horrible, actually, like very judgmental, and it's supposed to be a community. Like, this is supposed to be a spiritual community, and we're supposed to be kind of doing this together to like elevate consciousness, like whatever that means. So that was back in 2019, 2020. I started to feel a bit disillusioned by it all. And and then 6 months ago, I'm just trying to think the timeline of how, yeah, about 6 months ago, a friend of mine just said he did a meditation and he was shown to go beyond the white light, and that anything outside of ourselves could just be, you know, something that was malevolent.
Mm.
And he mentioned George Cavasilis' work.
Yes.
So as soon as he mentioned that, you know, it was quite intense because he kind of dropped the bomb on me and started saying what he's, you know, what he discovered from his meditations, and I was like, oh bloody hell, like that's, you know, quite full on to kind of hold that.
Yeah.
But then it had a resonance within me. I didn't go into cognitive dissonance. I didn't. It just felt. It felt like, yeah, it was the time for me to do this deep dive.
Yes.
So I started looking into his stuff, and then I found you, and I found your ex vegan. It was like a vegan, a review of the Crazy Cool Vegan, and
Oh
that was
yeah.
and I was just so, I found that absolutely hilarious, and I love that, the way you can shine a light on something like that, but in a way which is, you know, just bringing humor. So it all hit me at once. It was like finding out the whole, like, worshipping anything outside of yourself could be just a malevolent force, and then the veganism, because I was 4 years veggie vegan, like
You went down that rabbit hole as well.
oh, I've done, like,
Did
I've made.
you think you were ascending on a plant-based diet?
It was all this, like, you're going to eat rotten flesh and it's going to weigh you down, and you're going to be, you know, low
Right.
vibration. You're absorbing fear and suffering and
Right.
all that. So yeah, there was, so there was that, you know. My health was a mess. I was depressed. I couldn't get out of bed, and I knew that that was because of the New Age. I'd been following all this New Age dogma, which was suggesting if you know, you can't, if you judge, you're negative. If you eat meat, you're negative. If you, you know, all these rules for
Yeah.
how to be enlightened and how to be, yeah. So when my friend gave me that information, when I started doing the deep dive, it was just like my, you know, my eyes started opening, and instantly, from watching some of your videos, actually, I went to just eat fish. I just started eating fish, and I started, you know, having eggs and beef, and it was like something switched on. So that was really fundamental, the whole health aspect of
Yes.
the journey. Not only being given that information and having that resonance in my body, but how, you know, understanding how complex and how multifaceted the, you know, the New Age was, with its tentacles and with all the traps that you can fall into. Yeah. So yeah, you know, it was like a big deal. It was really, it felt good. It felt really liberating, actually, to be reading this, because I had a friend, another friend who I think had done ayahuasca like 86 times or something like that, and, you know, she's in all these different programs and doing all these different things, and was not really any further forward, I don't think. It just, she had a lot of suffering, and that, you know, that those aspects of my life, you know, realizing like, oh, this person's doing this and this person's doing that, and I'm eating all of this stuff and it's wrecking my health, and just piecing together all the pieces just really confirmed to me that even if this whole idea of the soul mill trap is just a theory, and then you know, giving power away to malevolent forces, even if that is just a theory, I thought to myself, no, it can't be, because the evidence is just there from all my life experience and all the people that are surrounding me that are, you know, in the trap.
Yes.
And yeah, I just started eating meat. I stopped all my different practices. I stopped, you know, feeling like I needed to meditate and go off into an altered state, and I was doing, you know, psychedelics a lot, and that was really opening me up. So I stopped all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it just I started to feel good. I started to feel grounded. Not to mention, I'd alienated myself from most people because I felt superior. I felt, anyone that wasn't spiritual was not worth conversing with.
Right, right.
Um, and I started to realize that those people that were not quote unquote spiritual could be more in alignment with their true essence if they were doing ballet, or they were an artist, or they were doing something that was really their soul's calling. They didn't necessarily have to be spiritual.
Yeah,
So, well, I mean, we're all spiritual, but you know what I mean, like the quote unquote, like holier than thou. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So it just all started piecing together and really making sense. And I couldn't believe that also bloody hell, yeah, the whole 2020 2021, deep into Trump, QAnon,
you went down that
BitChute.
rabbit hole as well.
Yeah,
Wow.
I went down that rabbit hole. I
Were
was on
you
Bitch.
were you following like big new age quote unquote leaders like Magenta
Yeah,
and that?
Lord, this was another massive thing. That's why the reviews you did were very helpful. So Laurie Ladd, Feel Good, Magenta Pixie, um, oh, who else was there? I mean, it is all a network, isn't it?
Yeah,
So, but I was really kind of waiting for their next video, and so that was the addiction.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
it was the lack of trust for my own self and my own, um, the fact that I could just tune in and get the information very quickly, right? So I felt, I didn't have that back then, and I felt like I needed to be told by a kind of authority. Elizabeth April, God, even back then with Elizabeth April, I was still listening to her stuff and thinking like, this doesn't sound right. But then when it finally clicked, I understood. I
yeah.
understood.
It's
Yeah,
weird, isn't it? It's like you're in a haze and you're under a spell. And I've been under that spell, previously, so I know what it feels like.
yeah,
And I do think that when you get involved in that stuff on an energetic level, a veil falls over you, and you become very easily manipulated with these things that when you're out of that spell, you look back and you think, what the hell was I thinking, right?
yeah.
It's like, what
Oh,
was I doing?
yeah,
Like we
yeah,
listen to people like Elizabeth April now. I mean, it's clear as day just to listen to what she's spouting is absolute BS, right? But at the time when you're in it, when you're under that haze, that energetic new age haze,
yeah.
it all feels and it seems all so true, doesn't it?
And I can completely understand why people fall into it. You feel, it's good people that fall into this trap, and that's the saddest thing. It is actually people that have good intentions and that want to help humanity, and it's very attractive. It's
Yeah.
very, it's powerful actually, and very deceptive.
Yeah,
Um,
and that was the thing with you. Your intentions were so pure because you'd seen the corruption going on in mainstream versions of healing,
yeah,
and you were looking for that something else in order to help probably yourself and other people. And then that second layer of the matrix, it was there. It was all there, set up for you. So this is why it's so important to speak out about it and do these kind of videos. So
yeah.
how are you today in terms of you're feeling more grounded and things are a lot more, you're feeling more sovereign?
Oh, I am myself for the first time in my life, actually, because in the mainstream I didn't have a place, and then in the new age it was a fake place.
Yes.
Now I've actually made some really good friends in a good community who are, you would say they're spiritual, you would say they're even, queer or LGBT, like but they don't, they don't make a song and dance about it.
Yes.
So now I'm choosing grounded individuals who just they want a simple life. They don't need to go and do kirtan every, I have a community as well that doing kirtan every Wednesday, and I don't want to do, I don't want to go and sing devotional songs to a god and that's in another part of, over in another side of the world, or what. It just, I'm here, and it's here and now.
Yes.
And it's simple. It's simple diet, checking in with my subconscious mind, my heart, a bit of remote viewing, a bit of centering myself, and then just spending time with people who are straightforward, and they don't want drama, because it was that whole new age is drama, full of people that are just, I don't know, questionable.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you say, a lot of people, they have really good intentions that go there and gravitate towards it, but it seems to me that a lot of these groups and setups are all very toxic. I mean, I've seen it firsthand. I've heard it so many times, thousands of times now down the years. So again, we're not telling people what to do. We're just asking them to be a little bit more discerning, and sometimes the stuff that feels good when you hear it needs a little bit more investigation.
Exactly. Now what I do is I ask myself the question, is this taking me away from myself, and is this causing division?
Mm-hmm.
And those, maybe I have a few more techniques, but first and foremost, if there's a movement I'm faced with, because I've been in all the cults. I've been in crypto cults, I've been in the pyramid schemes, I've been in vegan vegetarianism, I've been in new age, like the mental health, like well-being, you name it. I feel like I'm a cult expert. So and it just feels good to be able to speak about this. I was quite nervous, but now now it's flowing, and it just feels like my mission is to be one of the few people that is speaking up about this, but there are more and more people that are waking up to it, and I never imagined that. So I'm super thrilled that it's picking up and gaining a bit of momentum, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely gaining momentum. I'm seeing on my own channel, more and more interest, and I think it's really great and really apt, for you to be the first person to do the testimonial on my channel. I know it does take a lot of courage to speak out about this stuff. Sometimes we've still got friends involved in that scene, and there's all kinds of different connections that we've made and things like that, and it can be a little bit daunting, to say the least. But I definitely feel that speaking up about this is definitely on your mission and purpose.
Otherwise we're just part of the problem, aren't we, if we sit back and trust the plan. I've done enough of that. I did enough of that. I did that for about 1.5 years, and that was too long. So no more of that.
At what point, after everything that didn't happen with Trump, did you start to think that, hang on a minute, this is BS?
The thing is, though, it's so clever, because I had a partner who was what you would call not so spiritual, not so trusting of certain things. And when I was speaking about Trump and all that information, he was saying like, "Oh, are you crazy? I'm going to get like help." And I was thinking like, "Oh my God, I can't believe he's doing that. I can't, whatever." And it's so smart the way they convince you that you're in this group that is so untouchable and just really knows something that everyone else doesn't. And that's typical cult behavior, isn't it? Isolate you, ostracize you from everybody else, and then you're just screwed. So I'm just trying to think how I broke out of that. Well, it just all came part and parcel, and I just started
watching. At the same time.
And it's interesting now. Controlled opposition is quite a good term. I just, as soon as I find someone, I'll just search for controlled opposition, and usually I can find lots of information on Reddit or Quora.
Right.
And all of Trump, all of those new age doctors that are all linked in, they're all in the same field as well. And then they're linked with the new age, and there's Laurie Ladd linked in with that. And then vegans, it's just a minefield, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a very clever constructed psyop, the whole thing that's been pieced together. So, but the good thing with you as well, and this is where people can go in one of two directions. You mentioned earlier that when you said you had that conversation with your friend and he was speaking about the false light, there was a moment in time where you were like the penny had dropped. And the thing with you, instead of going into cognitive dissonance, which is what I see with a lot of these new age people, they'll reject the information straight away because it doesn't make them feel good. You had the courage to go with that initial feeling of like that resonance, which has led you out of it. And I would say to people that are kind of on the fence to it, that, you know, on the surface, when you find out that the new age is BS, it can be quite, I mean, I've had people break down and cry in front of me over different things that they've believed, that they've bought into. But if you can just get over that, you can take a much better, authentic, sovereign path, which will lead you to true empowerment.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. That's the thing. And I was seeing all these people around me that were actually in so much suffering. And part of me knew deep down, I think, that there was something still not quite right. Why is this person taking ayahuasca 85 times, or what? I don't know what it was. Maybe not that many times, but why are they doing all these different things? And why is this whole community possessed? And I spent actually in India, I went to Amma's ashram, and everyone was queuing up for the hugs. And and this was before that I knew about false white light. Everyone was queuing up for hugs, and I saw Amma exhausted. She had someone holding a phone to her face, hugging two people, and I thought, bloody hell, like this is like a poor woman that's somehow become the national treasure of India, and it's just all a complete scam, and everybody's idolizing this, and I just ran away from this ashram.
Right.
And yeah, and then, you know, people were talking, oh, well, when Amma walked along this floor, and back in 2006 when I was in Germany and Amma came, and back then, you know, I was realizing these, like you say, the lights are on and no one's home. It's these people are kind of possessed.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
it's an energy grid that they're now tuned into, which is false light, literally.
yeah.
But the other point to mention as well that was important in what you said about the temporary highs. I speak about that a lot on the channel, the false white light highs, where there is the inevitable crash, and where on the surface it can appear good, and then, you know, then you're struggling. So that's something to look out for. And the prime example of that was John of God. You know John of God, right?
Yeah.
And he was like, quote unquote, healing people, but he was child trafficking at the same time. So
that's Oprah's friend, isn't it?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So a lot of these people, I'm not saying that they're all into that, but, you know, on the surface you can get these highs and healings to a point, but then they get you hooked into some other grid or something that's nefarious. So really important points, right? Is there anything else that you want to say or get off your chest, or anything you feel like told your story?
Well, I don't know if that we should do this now or after, but I just wonder how people like me can share their message and feel empowered. I mean, I would love to have some kind of, just more of a network, more of a community, more support, where people can talk about these things and support one another, because it feels so lonely sometimes.
So maybe part of your mission is to create a support group, or you know, some kind of I don't know, community somehow. And even if that's just online, I'd be happy to help with that, given, well, depend on how much time, but I think it would be good to have a place where people could go and share their stories, for sure.
Because there's a whole community on Reddit actually, which is #EscapingPrisonPlanets, and I couldn't believe that these people are properly like tuned in switched on, and there are lots of people out there, but it just feels like people are so scattered.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's so many people that are scattered around, and what I would love to see is people feeling empowered and feeling like they're not just alone in this awakening from the false awakening.
Yeah, absolutely. And the problem is, and I say this all the time, there is so much information out there. And, you know, as truth seekers, we are, in a way, it's good. We want the truth, but we're going out around watching all these different podcasts, all these documentaries, reading all these books. I mean, you look on Amazon, most of the books, the New Age books, they're like Eckhart Tolle and all this stuff. Everyone's reading all this junk. So it's not about the amount of information that we're taking in. It's about taking in the right information. And I think that's where we need to, what we need to establish. We need to establish an objective truth on things and all move in the same direction. And yeah, I think some kind of community would be a great idea. So let me know what ideas you have in that respect.
Yeah.
But
that's great. We'll be in touch then.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I just want to thank you again for coming on today. I know you're a bit nervous at the start, and you know, it takes a lot of courage to speak up, and but your message is going to help a lot of people. So thank you for that today. And yeah, so guys, like I say, if you found this video helpful, give it a like, sub if you're new, and I will see you very soon on the next video. And yeah, take care, everyone.